The hall fell into an absolute hush. 300 elite vampires watched, stunned. Morgana Devereaux, the bride, stood frozen at the altar, her black lace gown trembling with barely contained fury. And then Adrian Blackwood did the unthinkable. He turned to me, Clara Whitmore, the dying human girl he'd brought to his own wedding, took my trembling hand, and spoke the words that would change everything. I do not accept you, Morgana. I accept Clara as my wife, forever. Before I could even breathe, before anyone could move, he pulled me into his arms, and his fangs pierced my neck. The hall erupted in chaos. But to understand how I got there, dying in a vampire's arms at his wedding to another woman, I need to go back 3 weeks. 3 weeks that transformed my certain death into eternity. 3 weeks earlier. 3 months. Dr. Peterson couldn't meet my eyes. Maybe 4, if we're lucky. The leukemia is too aggressive. Clara, there's nothing more we can do. I was 24, 3 months to live, and absolutely no one waiting for me outside that hospital. My parents had died when I was 16. No siblings. No boyfriend. My best friend had moved to another country the year before. I was going to die alone, in a hospital bed. And perhaps no one would even notice for a few days. The irony was cruel. I had always wanted to live intensely, to travel, to fall in love, to have stories to tell. But I'd spent the last 8 years working 60 hours a week, just to pay bills and survive. And now there would be no time for any of it. I walked out of the office in a daze. The hospital corridor seemed endless, the fluorescent lights flickering above me like a countdown to the end. That's when I saw him. He was standing at the end of the hallway, watching. Tall, perhaps 6'3", black hair perfectly slicked back, a suit that probably cost more than I made in a year. But it wasn't his appearance that made me stop. It was his eyes, storm gray, ancient, as if they had seen centuries pass. And they were fixed on me with an intensity that made my heart, that heart that had only 3 months of beats left, race dangerously. He started walking towards me. Each step was measured, predatory, impossible to ignore. People in the corridor instinctively moved aside, as if sensing something I didn't yet comprehend. When he stopped in front of me, so close I could feel the chill emanating from him. Odd, considering the suffocating hospital heat. He spoke, Clara Whitmore. It wasn't a question. His voice was velvet and ice. I've been looking for you. My name. He knew my name. Who are you? My voice came out weaker than I intended. Adrian Blackwood. He extended a hand. When our fingers brushed, an electric current shot through my entire body. His eyes widened for a fraction of a second. Surprise. Recognition, before settling back into that mask of perfect control. And I have a proposition that will change your life. Or what's left of it. I should have run. I should have screamed for security. But there was something in those eyes, something impossibly familiar, that kept me rooted to the spot. How do you know my name? How do you know about... I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud, about my impending death. Because I have known you for far longer than you imagine, Clara. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper only I could hear. And because I won't let you die. Not this time. This time, I said, trying to process his words. You're crazy, I said, taking a step back. I don't know you. I've never seen you in my life. Not in this life, no. His eyes gleamed with something dangerous. But your soul I would recognize in any century, in any body, in any lifetime. My blood ran cold. You need psychiatric help. Leave me alone. I turned to leave, but his hand encircled my wrist, not tightly. In fact, his touch was surprisingly gentle, but firm enough to make me stop. 3 months, he said softly. That's what they've given you. But what if I could offer you eternity? I laughed, a bitter, broken sound. Eternity? Are you one of those charlatans selling miracle cures? Sorry to disappoint, but I don't have the money for your lies. I don't want your money, Clara. He released my wrist, but didn't step away. I want you to come with me. 2.5 weeks from now, to a wedding. I blinked. My wedding. His jaw tightened. as if the words caused him physical pain. To another woman. Now I was sure. He was utterly insane. You want me to go to your wedding with your fiancé? Why on earth would I do that? Because... He leaned in again, his eyes piercing mine. What I'm going to do at that altar will save your life, but I need you to trust me, completely, even without understanding. You're asking a dying person to trust a complete stranger who appeared out of nowhere knowing impossible things about her. I crossed my arms. You realize how that sounds, right? Perfectly. He pulled a card from the inside pocket of his suit, black C with silver embossed lettering. An address. You have 3 months to live doing nothing, waiting for the end. Or you can risk 2.5 weeks with me and discover there's far more to this world than you imagine. What if you're a serial killer? A dangerous, beautiful smile touched his lips. If I wanted to kill you, Clara, you'd already be dead. It wasn't comforting, but strangely, I believed him. Why me? My voice came out in a whisper. Why do you care if I live or die? Something flickered in his eyes. Pain, ancient and deep, because I've lost you twice before, he said softly, and I'm not losing you a third time. Not when I've finally found you again. He pressed the card into my hand and stepped away. The address is there. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Come alone. And Clara? He looked over his shoulder. Bring a suitcase. You'll be staying with me until the wedding. What if I don't go? Then you'll die in 3 months. Alone in a hospital room, wondering what if. His eyes met mine one last time. And I'll spend another 200 years looking for you again. 200 years? Before I could ask what on earth that meant, he vanished. Literally. 1 second he was there. The next, the corridor was empty. I stared at the card in my hand. An address in an affluent part of the city. No name, no phone, just... Adrian Blackwood. Come discover the truth. I should have thrown it away. Should have forgotten the strange, impossible man. But when I got home that night, to my tiny, empty apartment, I looked at the bare walls and realized I had absolutely nothing to lose. 3 months of wasting away. Or a chance, however insane, for something more. The next day, at 7:45, I stood in front of an ornate iron gate, suitcase in hand, questioning every decision that had led me there. The mansion beyond the gate was something out of a Gothic film. Dark stone, turrets, arched windows, definitely the kind of place where people were murdered in horror movies. Last chance to turn back. Clara. I muttered to myself. The gate opened on its own. Of course it did. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. The path to the front door seemed miles long. Perfectly manicured gardens, fountains, marble statues that seemed to watch me. When I finally reached the massive wooden door, it opened before I could knock. Adrian was there. No longer in a suit, but dark trousers and a white shirt with rolled-up sleeves, revealing muscular forearms, hair slightly disheveled, as if he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. You came. There was genuine relief in his voice. Apparently, I'm terrible at making life decisions. I held up my suitcase. So, what's the plan? You abduct me, keep me in a cellar, collect my blood? He chuckled, a rich sound that did something strange to my chest. Not exactly. He took my suitcase and stepped back. Come in. We have a lot to discuss. The mansion inside was even more impressive. High ceilings, crystal chandeliers, artwork that was probably worth millions. But there was something else. A sense of antiquity, as if those walls had seen centuries. He led me to a library, walls covered in books from floor to ceiling, a roaring fireplace, leather armchairs. He poured 2 glasses of something amber, whiskey by the smell, and handed me one. Sit down, Clara. What I'm about to tell you will change everything you think you know about the world. I sat, holding the glass like an anchor. Try to surprise me. I'm already dying. Hard to get worse. He sat opposite me, those gray eyes fixed on mine. Vampires are real. Silence. Then I laughed, a bitter, mirthless sound. Seriously? That's your big reveal? Vampires? Yes. And let me guess, you're a vampire. Yes. I laughed louder. Of course you are. And I'm Snow White. Look, I came here because I'm desperate. But if this is some kind of weird role-playing game... He moved. 1 second he was sitting. The next, he was behind me, hand on the back of my chair, mouth close to my ear. It's not a game, Clara. I froze. He'd crossed the room in less than a second. Impossible. Completely impossible. How did you... He returned to his chair with the same impossible speed. And then, as I watched with wide eyes, his irises changed, from storm gray to blood red, and his fangs descended, sharp and deadly. The glass fell from my hand. Breathe, Clara. His voice was calm, but his eyes, those impossible red eyes, were fixed on me. I won't hurt you. I couldn't form words. He blinked and his eyes returned to gray. The fangs retracted, as if nothing had happened. A vampire, 347 years old, to be exact. He leaned forward. And you, Clara Whitmore, are the reincarnation of the woman I loved and lost. Twice. My mind was blank. Vampires. Real. Sitting in front of me. I need air. No. His voice was firm. If you leave now, in a panic, you'll think you've gone mad, that it was a hallucination, that the illness is affecting your brain. So stay. Let me explain. And then, if you still want to leave, I won't stop you. I didn't move, partially because he was right, partially because my legs weren't working. Tell me, I whispered. He took a deep breath, odd, considering vampires probably don't need to breathe, and began. 1724. Paris. I was a nobleman. She was a merchant's daughter. Isabelle Rousseau. Brown hair, green eyes exactly like yours, a smile that lit up any room. His voice grew distant, lost in memories. We fell in love. Forbidden, of course. My family would never have accepted it. But I didn't care. We planned to elope. He paused, pain crossing his face. The night before our escape, she was attacked by a rival vampire who wanted to hurt me. I arrived too late. She died in my arms, blood soaking her white dress, whispering that she loved me. My heart ached, even without fully believing him. The pain in his voice was real. 1863. London. She returned. Not with the same face. But I recognized her soul immediately. Elizabeth Turner. Worked in a bookstore. It took me months to approach her, afraid of scaring her away. When I finally confessed who I was, what I was, she didn't believe me. Thought I was mad. He chuckled bitterly. I tried to prove it. I showed her my abilities. She was terrified, fled, and that night, running across the street away from me, she was hit by a carriage, died instantly. Twice, he continued, his voice hoarse. Twice I found her. Twice I lost her. And then, 3 weeks ago, I felt it. That impossible to explain connection. I sought you out. And when I saw you in the hospital, with that diagnosis, his fists clenched. No, not a third time. I won't allow it. I was trembling. So you think I'm her reincarnation? I don't think. I know. He stood, went to a bookshelf and returned with an ancient box. Inside, a painting, small, faded by time, a woman, brown hair, green eyes, gentle smile. My face, not identical, but close enough to be my sister, or me, in another life. Isabel, he said softly. I painted this from memory, 50 years after she died, because I was starting to forget the details of her face, and that was killing me. My hands trembled holding the painting. That proves nothing. Coincidence. Many people look alike. You have a birthmark, he interrupted. Crescent moon shape. On your right hip. I froze. Isabel had the same mark. Exactly in the same place. Elizabeth too. His eyes met mine. Want me to continue? You've been afraid of abandonment since childhood, but don't know why. It's because in every life, you lost me. You have recurring nightmares about blood, because in every life, Blood was what separated us. Each word was a bomb. How do you know these things? My voice was cracking. Because I've spent 300 years searching for you. Studying. Waiting. And now you're here. Dying again. And I finally have a chance to save you. How? Tears were streaming down my face now. How are you going to save me from leukemia? Not even modern medicine can. By turning you into a vampire. The world stopped. No. The word came out automatically. No, I won't. Listen before you decide. He knelt in front of me, taking my hands. His hands were cold, but his touch was gentle. Vampires don't get sick. They don't age. They don't die, unless killed. If I turn you, the leukemia disappears. You live. Forever. As a monster. As an immortal being. His jaw tightened. Yes, you'll need blood. But you don't have to kill. Blood banks. Voluntary donations. There are ways. You keep your humanity, your soul, everything that makes you you. You just don't die. It sounded too simple. And what's the price? He hesitated. There's one problem. Of course there was. I'm engaged. I blinked. You're... what? Engaged. To Morgana Devereaux. Pure-blood vampire. Daughter of the Northern Clan leader. Our marriage was arranged 50 years ago to unite two powerful clans and prevent war. My head was spinning. So you have a vampire fiancé and you want to turn me into a vampire too? Is this some kind of immortal harem? No. His voice was harsh. I don't love Morgana. Never have. But if I cancel the wedding, there will be war between the clans. Hundreds of vampires will die. Perhaps thousands. So, what exactly are you proposing? He took a deep breath. Come with me to the wedding. In front of all the clans. At the altar. I will turn you. Publicly. Making you my wife by vampire right. My jaw dropped. You're going to turn me at your wedding to another woman? Yes. In front of her? Yes. You are utterly insane. Probably. He squeezed my hands. But it's the only way. By vampire law, transformation is sacred. If I turn you publicly and claim you as my wife, no clan can dispute it. It's older, more powerful than any political agreement. And Morgana, she'll just accept this. Something dangerous gleamed in his eyes. Morgana will have to accept. Or face me. You're asking me to trust that you'll turn me into a vampire, in front of hundreds of vampires, at the altar of your wedding to another woman, and that somehow this won't end with me dead. Yes. What if it goes wrong? Then I die protecting you. There was no hesitation in his voice. But it won't go wrong, Clara. I won't lose you a third time. I stood up, walking to the window. Outside, the night was dark. 2.5 weeks. That was all he was asking. 2.5 weeks. And then, either I died at the altar surrounded by vampires, or I lived forever. Why do you care so much? I asked without turning. Even if I am her reincarnation, I'm not her. I have no memories. I don't love you. I'm a stranger. Silence. Then soft footsteps. He stopped behind me, close enough for me to feel the chill emanating from him. Because when I look at you, I see 300 years of solitude ending. I see the woman I have loved in 3 different lives. I see the chance to finally get it right. His voice was low, intense. And because even if you don't love me now, even if you never love me, I'd rather see you alive and hating me than dead again. Tears burned my eyes. I'm scared, I whispered. I know. His hand touched my shoulder, lightly. But you're braver than you think. You always have been. I turned to face him, those gray eyes, so ancient, so full of pain and hope. If I agree, if I do this, you promise you won't let me become a monster. I promise. He placed his hand over his heart. By my immortal life, I promise. I took a deep breath. Then I'll go. I'll come to your wedding. And I'll trust that you know what you're doing. Something flickered across his face. Relief, gratitude, and something deeper I couldn't name. Thank you, he said softly. You won't regret it. I hope not. I tried to smile. Because if I do regret it, I'll have eternity to torment you about it." He chuckled, and for the first time since we met, the sound was light, genuine. I would gladly accept that. The next 2.5 weeks were the strangest of my life. Adrian gave me a room in the east wing of the mansion, enormous, with a 4-poster bed, a marble bathroom, a closet larger than my old apartment. "Anything you need," he said. "Clothes, food, anything. Just ask." For the first few days, I barely saw him. He'd appear for dinner, we'd talk about superficial things, and then he'd disappear for clan business. I explored the mansion, read books from the library, tried to process that vampires were real, and I was about to become one. But on the 5th night, I had a nightmare. Fire. I was surrounded by fire, smoke filling my lungs, unbearable heat scorching my skin. I screamed, but no one came. I was going to die there, alone, burning. "Clara, wake up." My eyes flew open. Adrian was by the bed, hands on my shoulders, his face taut with concern. "You were screaming," he said softly. "Nightmare." I was trembling, cold sweat covering my skin. There was fire, something flickered in his eyes. "Pain. Marguerite, your life before Isabel. You died in a fire, 1689. My blood ran cold. "You knew me before Isabel?" "No. But I researched. I traced your past lives as far as I could." He sat on the edge of the bed, keeping a respectful distance. "Marguerite Fontaine, accused of witchcraft. Burned at the stake at 23. Tears were streaming down my face. I can feel it. The fire. The pain. How is that possible if I have no memories? Soul memories," he said softly. "Deeper than conscious memories. Traumas that transcend lifetimes." I was sobbing now. Years of loneliness and fear finally breaking. And then, surprisingly, Adrian pulled me into his arms. He was cold, but his arms were firm, safe. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. "I protect you," he murmured into my hair. "In this life and in all the next. No more fire, no more pain. I promise." I don't know how long we stayed like that, but when I finally pulled away, something had shifted between us. After that night, Adrian spent more time with me. He showed me the vampire world, not just the dark side, but the beauty, art created over centuries, music composed by immortals, love stories that lasted millennia. "It's not just about blood and darkness," he said one evening, as he played the piano for me. An ancient, melancholic melody. "It's about time to learn everything, to create everything, to love deeply because you know it can last forever. But you lost your love," I said softly. 3 times, his hand stilled on the keys. "Yes, but I found you again. Always find you." "What if this time is different?" I approached the piano. "What if I don't fall in love with you? What if I become a vampire and decide to go my own way?" He looked at me, those gray eyes infinitely sad. "Then I let you go, because to love you means to want your happiness, even if it's not with me." My heart ached. "You'd wait for another life." "I'd wait 1,000 lifetimes, Clara." His voice was low, intense, "because you are worth every second of solitude between them." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. So I did the only thing that made sense. I kissed him. For a moment, he froze. Then his hands were on my face, in my hair, pulling me closer, deepening the kiss with a 300-year hunger. He was cold, but the kiss was fire. It was desperation and hope. It was 3 lifetimes of lost love finally finding each other again. When we broke apart, we were both breathless. Well, I was. He probably didn't need to breathe. "Clara," he whispered, forehead resting against mine. "You don't have to." "I know." I touched his face. "But I want to. I don't know if it's soul memory or something new, but when I'm with you, I feel complete, like a part of me that was always missing finally returned." His eyes closed, as if my words caused him physical pain. "I've dreamed of this for 300 years. Hearing you say those words again. Isabel said precisely that. The night before she died, he opened his eyes, and blood tears I realized with a shock. She said I was the part of her that was always missing. I wiped the red tears from his face. Then perhaps souls do remember. Even when minds forget. He kissed me again, softer this time. A promise. 4 days, he murmured against my lips. 4 days until the wedding, until I turn you, until you are mine forever. And Morgana? I had to ask. She won't just accept this. Something dangerous gleamed in his eyes. Morgana will learn that there are things more important than politics. And if she tries to hurt you, his fangs descended slightly, she will discover exactly why I am feared among the clans. A shiver ran down my spine. Not of fear, of something darker, more thrilling. Show me, I whispered. What? Your powers, everything. I want to know what I'm transforming into. He smiled. Dangerous, beautiful, as you wish. Over the next 3 days, Adrian showed me the vampire world for real. Speed that blurred the world. Strength to crush stone with bare hands. Senses so acute he could hear my heart beating from 3 floors away. And something else. Something he called compulsion. Look into my eyes, he said. I looked. Blood red, hypnotic. Raise your right hand. My hand lifted on its own. I had no control. Now lower it. It lowered. He blinked, eyes returning to gray. I gasped, regaining control. That's terrifying. Yes. He didn't deny it. That's why there are laws. Vampires cannot use compulsion on other vampires, and using it on humans for ill is punishable by death. And you? Do you use it? Only when necessary. To protect our secret, to prevent violence. His eyes met mine. Never on you. I will never control you, Clara. Your choice, your will, are sacred to me. I believed him. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. Tomorrow my human life would end. Tomorrow I would become something different. Immortal. I knocked on Adrian's bedroom door at 2 a.m. He opened it immediately, as if he hadn't been sleeping either. I can't sleep, I said. Neither can I. He stepped aside. Come in. His room was dark. Minimalist, enormous bed. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing the night outside. Are you scared? He asked, terrified. I gave a mirthless laugh. What if it hurts? What if something goes wrong? What if I transform and hate you for turning me? He came to me, taking my hands. It will hurt. I won't lie. The transformation is intense. Your human body dying, your vampire body being born. But I will be there, holding you. And when it's over, when you open your eyes again, you will be stronger, faster, more powerful than you ever imagined. And the blood, will I want to kill? You will feel hunger, but I will teach you control. And Clara? He touched my face. You are one of the most compassionate people I have ever known. In 3 lives, you will not become a monster. I won't allow it. Tears burned my eyes. What if Morgana kills me before you can turn me? She would have to kill me first. There was no doubt in his voice. And I don't die easily. I threw myself into his arms. He held me tightly, his face buried in my hair. Tomorrow, I whispered. Everything changes. Tomorrow. He agreed. We finally have our happy ending. After 300 years, I spent that night in his arms. We didn't sleep. We just lay there, memorizing each other's touch, knowing that tomorrow, everything would be different, for better or worse. There was no turning back. The wedding day dawned cold and gray. Appropriate. Adrian dressed me personally. Not a wedding gown, that would be for Morgana, but a long, blood-red dress that contrasted with my pale skin, hair loose, minimal makeup. Beautiful, he said, his eyes sweeping over me. But then, you always were, even dying of leukemia. Especially then. He kissed my forehead. Beauty isn't about physical perfection, Clara. It's about soul, and yours shines. By 6 o'clock, the guests began to arrive. I watched from the bedroom window. Luxury cars, expensive clothes. But there was something different. The way they moved. Too graceful. Too predatory. Vampires. Hundreds of them. "It's time," Adrian said behind me. My heart pounded. "I'm ready." He took my hand. "Remember, no matter what happens, stay close to me. Don't let anyone separate you from me." We descended together. The ballroom was transformed. Black and red flowers, candles everywhere, an altar in the center, and vampires everywhere, talking, laughing, drinking something that was definitely not wine. When we entered, silence fell like a guillotine. All eyes turned to me, the human, at a vampire wedding. Adrian, a feminine voice, cold as ice. What an interesting surprise. Morgana Devereaux was stunning. Black hair to her waist, icy blue eyes, a wedding dress that probably cost more than a house. And she looked at me as if I were an insect. "Morgana," Adrian didn't release my hand. "May I present Clara Whitmore, the human," she practically spat the word. "You brought food to our wedding. How considerate." Laughter rippled through the hall. My blood boiled. "She's not food," Adrian said, his voice dangerously low. "She's my guest. Treat her with respect." Morgana arched an eyebrow. "Respect? For a human?" She approached, circling me like a predator. "She smells good, though sickly but sweet. Perhaps after the ceremony, we can share." "Touch her," Adrian interrupted. "And our wedding will be the least of your problems." Electric tension filled the hall. Vampires backed away, sensing the threat. Morgana smiled, cold, calculating, so protective, almost as if she means something to you. Her eyes narrowed. "But that would be impossible, wouldn't it? Considering you're marrying me in 10 minutes? 9 minutes, Adrian corrected. "And yes, let's begin." He led me to a seat in the front row. "Stay here. Don't move until I call you." "Adrian, trust me." His eyes met mine. Just a few more minutes. Then everything changes. He went to the altar. Morgana followed him, a victorious smile on her face. The ceremony began. An ancient vampire officiating, speaking in Latin about bloodlines and clans and eternal union. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the meaning. Adrian was going to marry her, in front of everyone, unless... "Adrian Blackwood," the officiant said. "Do you accept Morgana Devereaux as your wife, your companion, your equal, for the centuries to come?" The hall held its breath. Adrian looked at Morgana, then at me, and smiled. "No." Chaos. Morgana hissed, fangs descending. Vampires rose, stunned. The officiant froze. "No," Adrian repeated, his voice echoing through the hall. "I do not accept Morgana Devereaux." He descended from the altar and walked towards me. Each step measured, every eye in the hall fixed on him. He held out his hand. "But I accept you, Clara Whitmore, as my wife, my companion, my equal, for all the centuries to come." Tears streamed down my face. I took his hand. He pulled me into his arms, right there, in front of 300 shocked vampires. "Are you sure?" he whispered. "Absolutely. Then become mine, forever." His fangs descended, and then, as the hall exploded in screams and chaos, as Morgana roared in fury, as vampires surged forward, Adrian bit me. Pain like I'd never felt, liquid fire coursing through my veins, burning away everything I was, rebuilding something new. I screamed, or tried to, but then his blood was on my lips, sweet and metallic and powerful, and I drank it like it was air. The world exploded in colors, sounds, sensations. I could hear every heartbeat in the hall. I could smell fear, rage, shock. I could see every detail, every fiber of the clothes, every movement. And then the pain stopped. I opened my eyes. Everything was different, sharper, more alive, more... everything. Clara. Adrian's voice. I turned to him. He was smiling. Welcome to immortality. I looked at my hands. Paler. Stronger. I could feel power coursing through them. I'm a vampire. He touched my face. My wife. By the oldest law that exists. This is an abomination. Morgana stood at the altar, her eyes red with fury. You turned a human at your wedding to me. In front of all the clans. Adrian turned to her, keeping me behind him. By vampire law, transformation is sacred. Older than any political agreement. Clara is my wife now. Our marriage is null and void. You'll pay for this. Morgana lunged, claws extended. Adrian moved, faster than my new eyes could follow. 1 second Morgana was attacking. The next, she was on the floor, Adrian's hand at her throat. Try me, he said softly, dangerously. Touch her, and I'll show you why ancient vampires still whisper my name with fear. Absolute silence. Then, surprisingly, laughter. An ancient vampire, white-haired, golden-eyed, was applauding. Brilliant, he said. Absolutely brilliant. 300 years of politics undone in a moment. I approve. Other vampires began to chuckle too. Not all. Some still looked furious, but enough. Transformation is sacred, the elder continued. Adrian Blackwood followed the oldest law. The marriage to Morgana is null and void. Clara Whitmore, or should I say, Clara Blackwood, is his legitimate wife. Morgana rose, pure hatred in her eyes. This isn't over. Yes, Adrian said calmly. It is. She vanished in a blur of speed. Adrian turned to me, smiling. So, how does it feel to be immortal? I laughed, a sound that came out louder, clearer than before. Ask me in 100 years. He pulled me into his arms and kissed me. Right there, in front of all the vampires, at what should have been his wedding to another woman, and for the first time in 3 lives, finally, we had our happy ending. 6 months later, I stood on the mansion balcony, watching the sunset, something I could do now. Young vampires could tolerate weak sunlight. Thinking about what? Adrian asked, his arms wrapping around my waist from behind. About how 6 months ago I was dying. Alone. Hopeless. I turned in his arms. And now I have eternity. With you. Regrets? Not even a little. I kissed him. Best decision I ever made. Even with Morgana still out there, plotting revenge? Especially because of that. I smiled, fangs descending slightly. Let her try. I'm not the dying girl she met anymore. Pride gleamed in his eyes. No. You're a powerful vampire. My wife. My equal. And your soulmate, I added. Across 3 lives. 4, he corrected. Marguerite, Isabel, Elizabeth, and now Clara. How many more do you think we'll have? With our luck, infinite. Then, I said, intertwining our fingers, we'd better make this one count. It already does, he whispered. Every second with you is worth 300 years of waiting. And there, as the sun set and the night, our night, began, I knew he was right. Some love stories don't end with death. Some transcend lifetimes. And some, finally, get there forever.